Well, what's up, everybody? It's Howie. Welcome to episode number 6. This episode of Tales from the Green Room is brought to you by Ambient Force. Are you having a large event? Are you getting married? Are you in a band and you want to have a really great light show? Something cool and different to stand out from all the other bands? Well, it sounds like you need to accent your excellence over at ambientforce.com. What I mean by that, some friends of mine at Ambient Force, they're based out of the Northeast here in the US, have these highly customizable wireless LED uplights. You can control them from any connected device, your phone, your tablet, your computer, whatever you have. The lights can be any shade of any color, and there's a bunch of effects. You can get it to change with the beat of the music. You can make them flicker like candlelight. Some of these lights have been at parties by John Cena and Nikki Bella. These things work for any sort of vibe that you're going for. If you're going for like subtle ambience or some dramatic effect with music, I mean, the possibilities are endless here. I've actually seen these things in action. I was working with a band up in the studio up in the Boston area, and we kind of felt like we needed to get them a little more vibey. We were in this kind of surgical, kind of lit up room with a white light, kind of boring, you know, and got a hold of 3 of these things. We just put them in different spots in the room. It was instantly a better vibe. It looked awesome, and it just really gets you in the mood for the type of thing that you're going for. I know the people behind Ambient Force, and they're all really good people. They care. They just want to help you have the best event possible. So go to the website, ambientforce.com. You could give them a call at 857-285-2035 or hit them up on email at info@ambientforce.com. And if you mention the podcast, Tales from the Green Room, they're going to give you a little discount as well. So make sure you jump on top of that. Accent your excellence with ambientforce.com. Well, on today's show, I'm stoked to have my buddy Ted Bowne from the band Passafire. Yes, that is 2 members from Passafire now. I'm going to work on the other 2 at some point. But Ted wanted to come on and do the show and just talk a little bit more about his experience. And yeah, we just got into it about a bunch of different things. Talked a lot about streaming and how it's affected bands over the last few years and learning to accept it and embrace it. We ended up speaking for about an hour and a half, so I had to split this into 2 parts. So make sure you listen to part 2 right after this. Without further ado, give it up for Ted Bowne. Here he is.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up? For some reason, my iPad rang, but my phone didn't.
Huh.
So I'm talking to you on my iPad, but it's 100% charged, so it's all good.
Sick. All right.
Yeah. What's up?
Not much, man. What's up with you?
Just hanging out. We were just down at the beach and just got back to the house, poured a glass of wine. It's Sunday, right?
Yeah,
no.
It is definitely not Monday.
It's not Monday. At least it's not Monday.
What day is it? Is it Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
Okay, it is.
Yeah, but you know, when you go on tour all the time, the days don't matter at all.
Yeah, nothing matters when you're on tour.
Nothing really matters.
Nothing at all.
Anyone can see.
Damn, I was gonna go there too. You already did it. So, all right, man. Good to have you on the podcast.
Dude, I'm so proud of you for starting this thing. It's pretty awesome.
Thanks, man.
I wanted to do the same thing for a while. I did for a while. It was called Tedcast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but that was a long time ago. My friends have asked me to bring it back. I'm like, yeah, I don't have the, I don't know. I don't know what it is that I need to have to do it again, but I don't have that.
Chicken fingers?
I don't have enough chicken fingers, bud.
I mean, I don't know. We'll work on that.
That could turn into something really funny if we wanted to.
That really could be pretty rad, I think. I think you should do it again. I think it's been a really fun kind of creative outlet for me. Other than the tunes, you know. It's just it's liberating.
My dad was in radio for 26 years, and I grew up being very fond of like that whole entire thing, you know, the whole idea of being a radio DJ and interviewing people and playing whatever tunes you want to play and all that stuff. And I definitely like went into work with my dad when I was younger, and he would let me into like one of the studios that wasn't being used, and I'd like tape my own radio show onto a cassette tape.
That's so cool, man. I used to do the same thing. You would just take all your favorite songs and you talk a bunch of bullshit in between, you know. Next up, and you try to talk over the music until the vocals started, like they do on the radio.
Right, yeah.
Like, oh, to give it up for a Green Day best. Do you have the time? You know, it's just like,
do you have the time? Yeah, I got the time, Green Day. Here we go. Next up.
Yeah, exactly. All that dumb shit that they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I know once I started doing this, I went back to that. I was like, wow, I remember doing that as a kid.
You grew up. You are lucky enough, and I came into it later on, but you guys grew up in the golden era of WHFS, which was like for a kid growing up in the Maryland, D.C. area, to go to HF Festival was a mecca every year.
Huge.
And you listen to the radio station all year long, and you get all your information about alternative rock music from them. And then you go to the HF Festival, and all these people that you've been worshiping all year are there, and they're playing for you at RFK Stadium. It's pretty awesome. I was talking to somebody about HF Festival the other day, actually.
That was definitely one of the things that we strive to do coming up as a local band here, and we got to do it. I think we played it 3 times, and the first time was HF Festival 2001, and it was the 2-day one. It was the first time they did 2 days in the spring, and man, it was like, dude, everyone in music was playing that weekend. It was just insane.
Was that when Citizen Cope played?
I don't remember that one. I remember, but it was Incubus, Green Day, Linkin Park, Weezer, Stained, you know, like.
I was there.
Dude.
That was my senior year of high school.
Alien Ant Farm, Newfound Glory, I think American Hi-Fi was big at that point. Like, just, man, it was so huge.
Incubus was the highlight of that one for
me.
They
definitely were. They played at like 7 o'clock for like 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then I think, who was it? Tenacious D played right after them?
You might be right. I remember actually Green Day they weren't supposed to play it, but they were like a surprise guest. So they just kind of booked it last minute because a band dropped out or something. And they played somewhere after Incubus, like as it got late. Like they might have been one of the last bands.
Dude, it's crazy because like we not only have a lot of the same, you know, alternative rock influences, but literally we grew up 2 hours away from each other, and obviously going to HF Festival. I was talking to a friend of mine that lives down here now that went to HF Festival growing up, and it was like, that was, for anybody that grew up around that area, it's like a rite of passage.
It is.
It's like, oh, did your parents allow you to go to HF Festival this year? Oh man, you're a big kid now. Like, that was where everybody went to go check out all the radio bands, and also to experience whatever else you experience as a 16-year-old at a festival. I'm not encouraging anything, but you know.
Have fun, be safe, but have fun. Yeah,
exactly.
It was that was definitely one of the one of the big memories, the big fond memories that I have just as a kid and early 20s and all that. It was just such a fun time. Hello.
But I think that's why we all gravitated so early on. You and I have been touring together for 10 years at least.
Yeah, about 10 years.
I remember I listened to the podcast you did with Nick and talking about the Badfish and Solomon's Island. Can't Hang was there. That was like
infamous.
That was back in the day, man. When you think about it, that was 10 years ago. We were all kids.
That was in the it was during the Great Blackout of 2007. That's
so you don't remember it?
Yeah, well, we refer to 2007 as the Great Blackout because that is one of the shows that we kind of remember. It was just a really fun time, and I remember playing with you guys at Can't Hang. And Jared used to promote over there and run that place. And and it was just, that was a night of like Jägermeister. I mean, that whole year, was all Jägermeister. That's why we call it that, because it's just literally 5 or 6 shows.
We had a Jägermeister year.
Yeah. We were like 5 years solid from like '03 to like '08 of just Jägermeister.
Did you guys do the sponsorship?
We didn't. We didn't.
Good.
I think we tried, but we just kept drinking it. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not trying to talk shit on anybody, but we just couldn't handle it. Like, I'm talking shit on ourselves right now because they were like, we require that you actually take a shot of Jaeger at every show and encourage people to drink Jaeger at the bar. And it's like, I know some artists were like taking some flat soda on stage and, you know, hitting shots of flat soda saying it's Jägermeister. But
Right.
first of all, that's really morally upsetting for me. And second of all, it's like, I can't drink that much Jaeger. And if you want me to drink it like once a night for every night for like 3 months, no thanks. So we'll make our own posters. We'll print up our own pics. Thanks very much. Appreciate it, Jaeger.
Yeah, I just couldn't do that deal if we wanted to, man. We used to crush a bottle, like one of the big bottles, on stage almost every night.
Yeah, I think I was there one of those nights at the Rendezvous.
Yeah, you were there. I was telling Nick that we got his brother Will wasted. He was like 19.
That was when Will was like 19.
And oh man, what a stupid night that was. It was a lot of fun though. Like actually, I think that was the first time I think we actually met you guys in person and hung out. And all that.
Yeah. That was the monumental first meeting of Ballyhoo Passafire, of Ballyfire Passahoo,
the beginning of something beautiful,
of Brouhaha.
Man, remember those tours,
dude? I think it's almost about to be that time again.
We're down. We're fucking down.
Like I haven't Brouhaha'd in a couple of years, and it's feeling a little bit lonely around here.
It's kind of weird. What we did, what did we do? Like, I don't know, like 10 shows with you last year sometime? 8? Something like that. Wasn't enough. Yeah. It's never enough.
Yeah, but it's always a good time.
It's
always a good time.
It's a great time. I think our fans combined have a really good time. We have a lot of crossover, and it just makes for a fun night. Like we have different flavors, but there's a common denominator somewhere, and like I don't know. It's just a fun time. Good vibes.
Dude, I hate to switch directions on you real quick,
Sure.
But I just got really stoked. I just now received a hard drive with some stems for the Hip Abduction wants me to do a remix for one of their songs. And I've been wanting to do that for a really long time. So I'm looking at the hard drive now like, yes!
Sick, dude. Yeah, you're doing a lot of mixing and stuff, right? Producing as well?
Yeah. Trying to stay busy in the studio off the road and make a name for myself as somebody who is a viable option. And when you want to make a record and you don't have a lot of money.
Right on. Yeah.
Because I'll do it for not a lot of money at this point.
Bargain Bowne over here.
Bargain Bowne. No, but it's been really cool being in St. Pete because like a lot of bands are coming up in Florida right now. And, very, very rapidly making their way onto the scene with Reggae Rise Up being a big thing here. And with Florida in general being basically the California of the East Coast as far as, our scene, the reggae rock scene. This is where you go to make your dough as far as touring on the East Coast with our scene. Yeah. So all these bands are coming up as like, in the wake of us of us guys who are 10 years older than these kids touring here in the last 10 years. I'm now meeting all these kids that are like, yeah, I used to go to your shows, and now I'm this badass fucking saxophone player for such and such a band, and I love your band. I'm like, man, I can't like that kind of stuff, and you experience it every day. I'm sure like somebody who's really talented in an opening band, and you watch them perform, and you're like, damn, they're fucking great. And then they come up to you and they're like, I started doing what I'm doing because I watched you guys 10 years ago and it inspired me to do this. That's basically been my experience producing music around here is all these kids have come to shows at Janus and come to shows at the Social. The Social in Orlando has been, a rock for us for the last 10 years.
That's a great
and
spot.
just meeting all these people who are now involved in the scene and making music and recording them, and them giving me their stories of the first time they came out to. And some of them are Ballyhoo Passafire shows. Honestly, a lot of them are like, man, I was at Brouhaha 2009, or I don't know what year we did it first, but we have a lot of the same fans, so you probably hear these same stories. But a lot of our fans are 311 Familia and people that we met on the 311 cruise, and that has spawned into such we some of the heavy hitters out there, the John Dalton, Larry Brantley, I'm calling him out, Christy Carlin,
Kim Mock,
man, Holly. Let's go down the list here. I don't know. You got some people out there that have been supporting both of our bands
fucking
in a way that cheerleaders, not just people that come and hang out and like try to get near the band to be cool, but people who come and they're like, I know you've given me a ride in your van before and it's a shitty place to be. So here's some snacks and here's some air fresheners. And, I want to take you guys to a really cool place in town that you'll like, rather than like, please smoke weed with me. Like,
not that that's horrible, right? But
no, it's not. It's not horrible.
But it is nice to have a change of scenery and get a different thing going on, because it's it is Groundhog Day.
It totally is Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is totally refreshing when you and inspiring when you get stories like that, get tweets from people that are just crushing for your band every day, and like you said, telling you the stories of how they started their band because some of your songs, it just they're influenced by you guys or us or whatever. It's just it's awesome, man. There's no feeling you can't really explain, and you're just the gratitude, I guess. It's just and we do the best we can to show the love back,
And that's the difference between, like, I don't know. There are bands out there that I go to a lot of shows. I don't just play a lot of shows. I try to go to a lot of shows and show my support for other bands and show my love for music. And sometimes I don't feel that from the band. I don't feel like the band really gives a shit that I'm there or anybody in the room is there. They're up there to fulfill some kind of ego thing. And it's like, all right, I have no like desire to go and try and support this band anymore because they don't really give a shit about me. And that's the most important thing, is after a show or before a show, if you happen to be in the crowd and you walk by somebody and they say, hey man, I love your band, don't act like that pisses you off. Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
who are you?
Yeah, that's
that pisses you off, that somebody wants to talk to you about how much they like your band. Sit there, talk to them about it, ask them where they're from, ask them when the first time they came to a show was. Guarantee they're going to be at the next show because you gave them the time of day and you actually made them feel like a human being. That's just like, I don't know. There's some etiquette within touring that I don't understand, as far as the be act bigger than you are, or the perception is key. Act like you're way more famous than you are, and you'll be there someday. I don't get down with that.
Yeah, there's something to I guess there's one thing to have a little bit of smoke and mirrors and a little mystique, I guess is probably the right word, mystique. But when it comes down to it, and there's a fan staring you in the face, 2 feet from you, it's just time to fucking be cool. There's no smoke and mirrors at that point. There's no mystique. You're there. You're standing from.
Yeah. Granted, people like David Bowie and Lady Gaga wouldn't be huge, icons in the music world if they weren't super mysterious and weird with everything they did.
Those are the exceptions to me.
Like the exceptions, yeah.
The people that want the iconic ones. If I got treated like shit by somebody like David Bowie or Elton John or Prince or somebody like that, like
you'd expect.
I would be like, all right, cool. Hey, I mean, they know I exist now. you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they saw me.
they saw me, they
Honestly.
looked at me, they said "fuck off" or whatever. But hey, that's
Yeah.
cool, you know. That was my exchange. But a lot of these
Who have you
new
had that
rock stars.
experience with? I know you've had that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. Nick, our bass player Nick, I can't remember who it was. He saw one of his favorite bands. I can't remember who it was, like a, I don't know, a guitar player or something in the band a couple of years back, and he got to say hi to him. Hey man, love your
Yeah.
band. You guys are so sick. I grew up listening, and the guy was just like, yeah, cool, and like just total dick, right? And Nick's just like,
Yeah.
Cool man, I'm just gonna go fuck myself. You know, it's like how do you react? You know, and
I've had
I
that
would hope
situation more times than I can admit. Really.
people have their bad days. They have their bad moments, and you just never know what's going through someone's head at that time if you meet them or whatever.
Sure.
And I think that is one thing to consider. Now there are some people that you've heard multiple stories that are just bad or whatever, but you just never know. And like I would hope that I've never. I was told once it was after a Warped Tour show in 2016. Someone messaged us on Instagram like, I don't know, a week after or a couple months after maybe, and said that like something to the tune of like, yeah, we came up, we were waiting for like 2 hours to meet you guys in that line in Connecticut, and you were just like total assholes, and you just didn't like, you were just, you know, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I remember the show. I was like, we had a great time. Like the show was awesome, and we stood there and waited and talked to everybody, and we weren't. I told him, I was like, dude, I'm sorry if I came off like a dick or something somehow. That was not my intention, you know. And he came back and was like, it's cool, man, you know, whatever. But I don't know, like if I've ever come across to you like that, I'm sorry. It was never my intention.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Don't
you know?
even take into account that we got here at 7 o'clock in the morning and helped our merch guys set up this tent here, and then went and played a show in the most sweaty, hot conditions you can imagine, and then we stood here for 2 hours so that we could meet you. Like, if I was short with you, please understand that there are a lot of factors that go into that. Warped Tour is probably the least glamorous tour you could ever be on.
The absolute worst.
The
best,
the
but the worst when it
glamorous
comes
tour.
to conditions. Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely. I think that happens. Like there's some sort of like, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Like they feel like they're entitled. You know, the entitlement of like, I stood here, I should be able to meet you and do whatever the fuck I want with you. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there's a mutual respect that has to happen there. You know.
So, funny thing about Warped Tour, because I went to visit your guy Tristan out at the Warped Tour tent this past summer in Illinois Park, and he was telling me that last year they had all the internet stars, like all the viral video stars,
Like the YouTubers.
There was a tent where you go and meet and greet with them, and there were lines for that tent that were like 4 hours long. And people were missing the main acts because they wanted to go meet, like, hide your kids, hide your wife. Oh my God, the cat is on top of the fence. Holy shit. Sorry.
Sick.
Anyway, yeah, it's crazy how now we worship people that post funny videos on YouTube as if they were Elton John or Mozart, or like somebody that really made a difference in the entertainment world.
Right. We're definitely in a transition. I think we're still in the early years of this. It's like the golden age maybe of this whole YouTube, Instagram thing. Influencers are like, they're the next rock stars, movie stars, whatever. And everything's changing, man. And it's wild. I think it'll just be a normal thing. My son came up to me not 2 weeks ago, and he's 7. He's just like, Dad, can I start a YouTube channel? I was like, wow. He wants to play drums, on YouTube, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He watches videos all the time, and he tries to mimic everything and plays along to all our songs and like Bruno Mars and all that stuff. It's sick, man.
I know you encourage that for sure.
Oh, for sure. I'm the type like where I would like them to do something musical, and whether they do anything with it or not, I would prefer them not to start a band. Like go out there and get something that actually make you some money. But I would like for them to play drums or piano or guitar or something, just to have it, because it's just a cool thing to have, And I would never push it on them.
It balances your life, even if you're not a musician like full time and don't do it all the time. There are plenty of psychiatric studies through the ages of how being a musician affects your ability to communicate with other people, and it's like it's a no-brainer that if you at least immerse yourself in music just to understand the relationships between the instruments and the notes and everything. Like, there are people that couldn't tell you. There are people in their 60s, 70s that have lived a long life that couldn't tell you what a half step or the difference between a half step and a whole step.
Right.
Couldn't tell you the difference between the treble clef and the bass clef. Knowing those things, I think, opens your brain up to ideas in life in general that allows you to problem solve. Because you're on stage problem solving the whole time. You're like, how, for this next hour, I have to entertain these people, and I have to remember every single note that we wrote on every single song. And you're problem solving the whole time. Because that's a problem. It's not, it's like.
Never looked at it that way.
It's not a problem to have to perform.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah.
You get in front of all these people, and there's all these other factors involved, nerves and stuff, and you have to figure out how to perform these songs right. And, music teaches you problem solving, I think. And so the people that just, I couldn't even imagine a life under some kind of regime where they were like, no, music is illegal.
Ugh.
That's the only time I'd probably commit suicide.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm not about that whatsoever. But if you told me that I couldn't have music in my life at all, like if I was deaf, I could still have music. I could still beat out beats on my chest or beatbox. I could still feel things. But if you told me I just couldn't feel or see or touch music ever again, no, thank you.
I don't want to live in a world like that either, man. It's
I don't know how we got so extreme so quick. It's probably Bree and I are having a glass of wine. Our afternoon Tuesday night glass of wine.
Sick. I know. I should have poured
Bree's here, and Howie. Bree's a big fan. Say hi, Bree.
Hi.
What's up, Bree?
What's up?
Chilling. Talking to your boy about some music life.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm a big fan.
I've been encouraging she's a clarinet player.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
I'm a band nerd.
Yeah.
First chair, second chair.
First.
Sick.
She's like, what?
What does this motherfucker just say?
Did you really ask that?
I'm sorry,
we're trying to do a Mission Impossible into Pink Panther cover.
But not really.
Oh man, that's cool. Why not?
We're working on it.
Yeah, let's keep us updated here at the podcast.
Yeah, we'll send you a little audio snippet so that you can be like, hey, just so if you listen to episode number, is this 4?
This is 6.
6.
Number 6.
If you listen to episode number 6
on March 6th.
On March 6th.
On March 6th.
We said that Brianna was going to play some clarinet at some point with Ted, and now here it is. You're the first to hear it. So we're going to save this clip for future use so that you can play this back, and then there's going to be a duet between Brianna and I on clarinet and guitar.
I'm going to make a note because I think everybody wants to hear this.
Yeah, and maybe Howie, if you want to be a part of it too, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'll just I can play the tambourine pretty shitty or something.
We've been talking about this whole trying to take a cappella and use it for what it's supposed to be for.
Yeah.
By the way, let me tell you that your a cappella, the first one you did, I can't stop replaying it.
Some of my finest work, I'll say.
I'll pat myself on the back. Work. I'm a big fan, but that right there was just it. That was it.
To me,
I mean,
there was no other way to use
comedy's-
that app. You know? What, you want me to put together a song? Fuck you, dude. It's gonna be. I'm just gonna scream 4 different times.
Yeah, that was so great. It was it totally spoke to me. It spoke to the whole generation.
Yeah, I went like full Adult Swim.
No,
that
it was
shit.
good.
Best thing I've seen all
You
year.
know, Mike
Glad you liked
the Guzman's old band has like a bunch of those bumps in Adult Swim.
No shit, really.
Yeah, they were called Fluid Minds, and it was him and Johnny Cosmic were in the band together. Johnny Cosmic is with Stick Figure now. Before either of them were with either of us or Stick Figure, they were in a band together called Fluid Minds, and Mike showed me one night that like they have a ton of bumps when they show like the funny words in black screen with the white words.
Mm-hmm.
A few of their songs have been chosen to be those like little musical interludes. Thought that was pretty cool because I watch that shit all the time.
Oh, it's rad. I'm gonna have to revisit that. I don't ever watch TV, so I'm gonna have to sit down one night and check it
I
out.
used to. I don't have cable anymore, but I used
for
to
you.
watch Cartoon Network
Good
when
for
I
you.
did.
Who needs it? You need some of the
You don't need
content.
it.
You need to consume like all the good shit and just trim the fat.
Are you gonna lose your big corporate cable TV sponsorship if we say that you don't need cable?
It's got that big Xfinity contract.
It's like the Xfinity Bright House Limited. No,
I wanted to
That-
be sponsored by Cox Cable.
don't we all?
Don't we all? Sponsored by Cox, endorsed by Cox.
I mean, I think Ron Jeremy's sponsored by Cox.
I mean, if anybody's gonna be, it's got to be him.
I don't even know what that means.
Me neither.
Our dog and cat are having a duel right now. It's a very tense time in the household.
Oh man, fighting like cats and dogs.
Yeah, now the cat is eating the dog's food, and that's going to be a big problem.
So I remember one time we were driving in our van, and
Yeah,
we were leaving home to go do a tour or something, and I was driving. We were about an hour out, somewhere on 495, around the DC area, I think, and
yeah.
there was this brownie sitting there in the cup holder next to me, and
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, cool. I don't really smoke weed that much, but like I'll hit it from time to time, or do some edibles, whatever. And I was like, cool. I'm gonna eat this brownie, And
So you ate it knowing it was inedible.
so I knew it was inedible, right? I knew
Okay.
because I forgot who we
I
got
thought
it
this
from.
was going to be one of those stories where you innocently ate a brownie and all of a sudden ended up in Wonderland.
No. The Wonderland thing did happen. I didn't realize. I'd never really. I don't know if I'd eaten. I guess I'd eaten a brownie before, but like I guess this was just so potent. I didn't realize it, and it didn't really taste like it. You can kind of taste it a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I'm cruising. I'm like, cool. I'm gonna eat this brownie, be chilling out, get a nice drive, and yeah, within that hour, everything got blurry. Right. My hands grew to the size of like, I don't know, like I thought I had like big Mickey Mouse gloves on. Right?
Yeah.
Like really big hands. And I felt like the steering wheel got as big, like huge, like a big truck driver. I felt like a truck driver, right? And I started, and I couldn't feel my hands anymore. And I started like blinking really fast. I'm like, oh my God. And I started like smacking the steering wheel, trying to like get the feeling back. Like, okay, I'm driving. And I finally realized like, okay, guys, I gotta stop. I can't drive. They're like, what's wrong? I was like, I can't. And
You're like, I'm here, but I'm not here.
yeah, cars were driving so fast by me. He's like, I was like, dude, these cars are driving so fast. And like, when I went to go pull over, I looked down. I was doing 40 miles an hour in like a 70, right?
That's why we're going fast, Howard.
Yeah, so I finally pulled over and got in the back. Someone else drove. 13 hours later, 13 hours later, I wake up in the back of the van, right? There's a point to this story. I wake up, I'm just kind of like coming to, and we're listening to Start From Scratch by a band called Passafire.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so
I remember that one.
this was probably one of the first times I had actually listened to it. Like I heard a couple songs, but they just had it going, and I kind of went back out a little bit, and I had the craziest dreams. And I remember I remember sitting up and thinking, I was like, yo, this fucking album is sick.
Did we trip you out?
Dude, it was rad. It was good. I want to thank you for that.
Oh man!
But
I want to thank you for that story. That's
you're welcome.
awesome.
It was a little long, but yeah, the whole point was like you guys were playing. You were my soundtrack to my crazy weird brownie dream, and it was just I remember just getting a real appreciation for that album and you guys as a band. Like it was just that's one of your best records. It's just so cool.
Paul Leary has a lot to do with that, man. I think the writing, all of that, I feel like we did our best as far as writing and all that. And I don't know, like Long Shot has felt the closest to that one since then. But Start From Scratch was something that went after it was mixed, and I listened to Paul's final mixes, and ever since then, I've not, we've had really great mixes, but as far as like the low end, whatever Paul did, whatever magic he sprinkled on the low end of that album, you can play it in any system, and you don't have to crank or turn down the bass. It's just there. And I've heard it like out on the beach. One day I heard the song Start From Scratch, which is probably my favorite like low end on that record because we used the little fatty out at Sonic Ranch. He brought his own Moog Little Fatty or no, I don't remember who makes the Little Fatty, but he brought this synthesizer that you have to tune up before you use and stuff. It's got just the fattest analog synthesizer sound you could ever imagine. And I heard the song out on the beach out of just a little like Bluetooth stereo thing, and before it even registered that it was our song, I was like, that bass sounds sick. And then I stood up and I was like, oh shit, all right, that's why I recognize that song. That's our song. And I went up and like slapped five with the guy who was playing it. But like to this day, the low end on that entire record has sounded better than anything we've ever done. And Paul, whatever you do, I'm going to send you a link to this so you can reply to me. Whatever you do with that low end, I don't know. I need to know. I need to know.
He's a good
My
dude.
favorite Goldfinger song.
He is a good dude. Goldfinger's great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that story. That's funny.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Just every time you guys play that song, just start from scratch the song. Every time you guys play that, it's one of those bangers, You go to the Passafire show and that song comes on and Mike's hitting the fucking melodica and just like it's just I don't know, just everything about it is perfect, And great way to kick off the record and set the tone,
Can I tell you a brownie story?
Yeah, please.
It kind of ties into the beginning of our conversation because I told you my dad was on the radio.
Right.
And he got his start at Morehead State University in Rowan County, Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, way out in the middle of nowhere. He grew up was definitely a hippie in the 60s and had friends that lived out in the hills of Kentucky in a trailer and did what they do in the hills of Kentucky in the 60s in a trailer. And he showed up there one day before going on the radio, and I think like his producer, his like partner on the radio show, he was there to pick him up and go to the radio show. And he got there, and his friend and his lady friend were in the back finishing up some business. And his friend yells to him from the bedroom, "Hey, we just made brownies. Go ahead and have you one. And I'll be with you in a minute." And my dad's like, all right. Knowing my dad's sweet tooth, he went straight for those brownies, probably had like 3 or 4 of them.
Ooh.
And then he and his friend went into the college, and my dad went to the radio station and did his thing. he put on I think it was an Allman Brothers record, and played the first song and fell asleep and woke up to a phone call about an hour later. Like the program director of the college radio station was calling him saying, it's been blank air for about 45 minutes. What is happening? He had eaten like 4 pot brownies and passed out. Unknowingly, though, like did not have any clue that it was pot in it. He should have known because apparently he said his friend was a backwoods Kentucky grower, but ate a bunch of brownies and passed out on the radio. And then somebody called him and said, hey, you've been playing nothing for about 45 minutes. What the hell's going on? And he was like, oh my God.
Panic mode, dude. Full on.
Yeah, panic mode.
Oh,
but
man.
that was like, he told me that story and I was like, man, I still would love to do, even shit like that can happen. I still would love to do some radio stuff someday.
Yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun. I did some radio and I did some college radio, and I got in trouble. I was getting really good at it, and I got in trouble one time because the programmer, actually, the guy that ran the thing, he would just leave. I was there 2 days, and he would just leave. He would like, here, play this. All right, I'm out. And so I started like getting calls and stuff like, hey, play this, play that, And so I started slipping in like Real Big Fish and like Green Day tunes, and this isn't all.
Are they gonna fire me? They're not even paying me.
I know they're not even fucking paying me. And so this was a college radio station, and so, dude, I spent like, I think it was like a couple hours there one night, and I just started working because he told me if you want to slip a song into the playlist, go ahead. I just took liberties, man. I just like changed everything, and. I started getting phone calls, like request line was lighting up. It was crazy. And dude showed up, red face, just super pissed. And I could just see it, and he was so mad. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, it was like, because, he did this whole playlist, and I just fucked with the whole format, And,
the program director showed up and was pissed.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying a random dude showed up and was pissed. I was like, oh, what'd you say?
No. The program director, he came back because he was obviously listening, and I didn't even think about it. I was just doing it. And, oh, man, he was so mad, dude. But it was so much fun. I don't think I ever went back at that point. I was done. But it was so much fun, man, just like doing playing the songs and throwing in the little bumper stuff and, doing the station IDs and,
Dude, I don't listen to radio enough, and I need to. I need to support it. Like it's a dying art that has basically created all of us musicians that are out here right now playing music for the masses. We were all influenced by listening to the radio, and these kids coming up now don't even know what the radio is because there's no reason to wait for your song to come on anymore. It used to be such an anticipation thing. It was like it gave us patience. It gave us the will to sit there and listen to a bunch of shitty songs that we don't like, to wait for that one song to come on so we can press record on our fucking cassette player.
Yep.
And save that shit forever. And now these kids are like, Alexa, play Beyonce. Oh, God, Alexa's going to play Beyonce now. Hold on, stop. Alexa, stop. But yeah, so I got the technology. I'm with it, but it's just these kids don't understand. Like, we used to be so dedicated to our music that we would sit there and listen to the radio for an hour for our song to come on, just so you can record it to a piece of technology that's completely obsolete now.
Totally dead.
And I found my tape. I found a tape player, and I found my tapes, and I've been jamming my tapes recently. You're going to get a mixtape in the mail, by the way. Next Christmas, I told Bree, next Christmas, I'm sending mixtapes to everyone.
Oh, that's the best idea.
And it's not going to be a CD. It's going to be a fucking tape. So you better have a tape player.
Yeah, I think I do have a tape player somewhere. Damn. Yeah.
All right. Well, then I'm going to spec one back from you.
That was the best, man. You forget about that stuff. Like, I remember anytime one of my favorite bands would have a new song out, because this was pre-internet, so you didn't know when this shit was coming, and like you'd be like, holy shit, they got a new song, a new record, like, and you'd get so pumped. And the next time I would sit there and wait I'd have the tape recorder ready, and I would just wait for them to play this fucking song.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and then just record it, and then I would just loop it over and over. I would record it back to itself, and just front and back of the tape, just a 90-minute fucking
and
max
winning
L.
stuff off the radio,
What's that?
like contests on the radio.
Oh, contest?
Right.
Oh yeah, dude, lose your
Dude,
mind.
it was so much more exciting than somebody posting something. Repost this 30 times and maybe you can win something.
Yeah, win a
It's
chance.
like I look at those and I'm like, Laban, like the guy from Simpsons was like, repost this 30 times. Why don't you get on the radio and say, hey, if you want a free copy of this CD, call in. Be the next, be the 10th caller right now. That was the way to do it back in the day. I guess Facebook reaches more people, but it's just, it's so sad that kids growing up now don't get to experience the excitement of like what was experienced from the 1930s. Maybe radio became a thing almost 100 years ago, and it's been a thing for 80 years at least, and now is becoming something that the young people growing up don't really understand, so they kind of discard it. And for this reason, like, this is why people are doing podcasts now. This is why people are trying to get together and talk so other people can listen to people talk and feel like the good old days of radio are still around. And I applaud podcasters. Thank you. Thank you, Howie.
It sucks that radio has kind of gone the way it's gone, and now a lot of times, like especially like the bigger stations, they don't take chances anymore because they can't afford to. It's like they're afraid of getting shut down or changing the format.
Mm-hmm.
Radio is a crazy industry. I remember when HFS stopped and they flipped to Spanish. They came in like 2 hours before noon. It was like 10 in the morning. They came in and they just had pull everybody up, and they said, "All right, everybody's fired. It's done. At noon we're going Spanish," and it's just that kind of industry, and I think it's more and more. I mean, so many alternative stations are just going away all the time. We started getting spins for girls. We got added in Reno, and 2 months later they were a different station. The format changed.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. So podcasters, and things like that. Like it's all. You're not stuck to. You don't have to explain yourself. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. And that's the freedom of the internet.
Yeah.
And having the tools and just and it's exciting. I think it's like again. I feel like we're in an infancy here with all this stuff.
Can you play music?
Can I play music?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I mean, seriously, I wanted to start a podcast myself, but I don't know if, I have to register with ASCAP, if I have to, ASCAP has taken, which is crazy for us because we're in a situation where we want our songs to be played and we want people to have to pay money to play our music in their bar. That's great for us. But then you've developed these relationships with bar owners and club owners over the years, and they're your friends, and they're getting fucked over now. Not fucked over, but all of a sudden, ASCAP and BMI and all these licensing companies are coming to them and strong-arming them, saying, "Hey, you haven't paid your dues in so many years, and you owe all this money. You pay now, or you don't play any music in your bar."
Yeah.
And I would imagine it would probably be the same thing in the podcast world where they're going around and listening and seeing what's being played and going and charging these podcasters for what they're playing. But I don't know because I'm not in that world fully. But
there might be licensing stuff like you may have to at least get an agreement with the artist that you want to spin. It's very
right.
I haven't really checked out all the music podcasts. There's a whole music section like at iTunes and all that, and I haven't really checked them out. And so I don't know if they're playing songs or not. I could swear that I've heard like snippets of songs on other podcasts that I listen to, but not just like he'll this and that, and then you play the song and whatever. So that's a good question. I'll check that out.
For you and me. Right now, anybody spinning our music on podcasts, we're all about it, and we're not trying to
course
press
not. Yeah.
any kind of charges or like, whatever. But if you have a podcast and you spin that song of the week, every week you spin some song that is super protected and super like famous and has made a lot of money for somebody, you could get a cease and desist or like a please erase this thing. And it's just everything is so weird now with streaming and people winning Grammys or not winning Grammys, but getting like number one placement on Billboard for sales, with streaming being a thing now. Like streaming, I think it's like 10,000 streams is one album.
It's 1,500 streams is a download. It's technically
is a one track download.
Yeah, like a sale.
Yeah. But I think 10,000 streams
it might be,
is an entire album.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like if you have multiples of 10,000 streams, that's an album every time it reaches 10,000 streams. Which is, it's such a like crazy thing to think about now, is that like before it was all based on sales. And now it's based on these monthly subscription things that how do you even really know how much you're actually impacting the music industry if it's based on half like streams and half actual sales?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I just pulled it up because I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure. So the RIAA, it's 1,500 streams is one album sale. That's what
it's one album sale.
One album sale. Okay. One full album sale is 1,500 streams. And that can be of any song, doesn't matter.
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So that's right. Yeah, because a lot of artists, all the big selling artists, like the platinum ones or the almost platinum, were certified gold and platinum after that because they've got millions and millions and millions and millions of streams. It's that
Rihanna,
new world, man.
Rihanna sold 482 copies, I think. That may be off, but 400 something copies of her latest release in the first week. Physical copies. Because she wasn't on tour. She just, in stores sold with under 1,000, 400 something physical copies. But because her album was streamed enough times, or each song was streamed enough times, she still went platinum for her first week.
It's such a
and she's the first artist to do that, apparently, in this new world of like crossover into streaming being a thing.
Yeah.
She was the first artist to go platinum because of a stream, and that blew my mind. I was like, that is a mark of an entire change in the way that the currency of music is completely a different currency now. It's been taken over by a totally different government of music, and now we have this thing called streaming, which didn't exist until 7 years ago.
All right, that concludes part one. Make sure you click over to part two right now, and I won't keep you any longer. Get back into the conversation.